Hi all, this is my second attempt at polyhedral sort. The first one I think lost the audio. So here we go one more time. Okay, so in the polyhedral sort part 1, I went through all of the objects and sorted them for you. And now we're going to go through and talk about bases and lateral faces. Okay, remember that bases are going to be our shapes that are not triangles or rectangles in general. Okay, they can be anything that you want them to be. Okay, and then lateral faces are the faces that are not bases. So in general, the bases plus the lateral faces add up to your total number of faces. So we think about a triangular pyramid. A triangular pyramid is going to have a triangle on the bottom, and we're going to call that its base. And opposite that base is going to be the apex of the pyramid, where those triangles come to a point at the top. So we're going to say that this has one base, and for a triangular pyramid, that's base shape is a triangle. And then off of each side of that triangle, there's going to be a lateral face, which is a triangle. So let's put that over here. And they're going to meet at that apex. So a triangular pyramid is going to have 3. For a square pyramid, you are going to have one base as well, opposite the apex of the pyramid, and its base is going to be a square. And then off of each of those sides, you're going to get a lateral face. So we'll have 4 of them, and they're all triangles that meet at the apex. For a rectangular pyramid, there wasn't one in the box, but you're going to have one base that's a rectangle, 4 lateral faces that are all triangles that meet at the apex. You can start to see the pattern. For a hexagonal pyramid, we've got one base opposite that apex, and its base is a hexagon. And we've got 6 lateral faces, 1 coming off each side of the hexagon, and they're all triangles that meet there at the top. For the triangular prism, we're switching gears here from pyramids to prisms. So prisms have 2 bases that are parallel to each other. So instead of one base opposite an apex, you've got 2 bases that are opposite one another, and they're parallel to one another. In a triangular prism, those bases are both triangles. And then you're going to have a rectangle that comes off of each side of those bases to connect them. So you're going to end up with 3 here. Now, if we say it's a rectangle, then we're implying that this is going to be a right prism, meaning that it has 90-degree angles because our rectangles have 90-degree angles. You can shift that rectangle and shift the angles and make it a parallelogram, and then you'll end up with an oblique prism. So it's allowed, it's just a little bit different than we're used to. For a hexagonal prism, you're going to have 2 bases, and they're going to be hexagons. And 6 sides to our hexagon, so 6 lateral faces that are all rectangles. For a square prism, 2 bases again, they're both going to be square in the parallel. And 4 sides to our square, so 4 lateral faces that are going to be rectangles. For a rectangular prism, now this one consists of 6 different rectangles. So you're going to choose 2 rectangles to be your bases, any 2, and they're rectangles. And then the rectangle has 4 sides, so there's going to be 4 that'll be considered lateral faces, and those are all rectangles as well. Okay, different sizes likely, but nonetheless. Pentagonal prism, so 2 here, and a pentagon, which means we have 5 lateral faces that are all rectangles. For a cone, we're going to say that has 1 base, which is a circle, and it doesn't have any lateral faces because I don't have any triangles to work with there. There's nothing flat about the sides of a cone. Same thing with a cylinder, 2 bases, 2 circles that are parallel, and then no lateral faces. Technically, if you unwrap a cylinder, you're going to end up with a big rectangle that kind of wraps around like a soup can label, but it's not flat, and so we're not going to consider that a lateral face. So then what are the characteristics of a pyramid? Well, if we take a look at what's going on with our pyramids, you'll notice that we have 1 base. And in parentheses here, I'm going to say that's opposite the apex. Right? The apex being that point at the top where all of the triangles come together. And the lateral faces are triangles. Okay, so lateral faces are triangles. Versus a prism, where we have 2 bases that are parallel. And our lateral faces are, in this case, rectangles. I'm going to say rectangles because we're primarily used to our right prisms, but in parentheses, I'm going to say these can be squares because squares are rectangles, and they can be parallelograms if it's oblique. Okay. And then our last question for today, is a cylinder a prism? Is a cone a pyramid? Why or why not? My answers here is going to be no on both accounts. Okay. And that's because the faces are not, particularly the lateral faces, are not polygons. So, but in general, the faces are not polygons. So it kind of fits the description, but not really. So we are going to say no to this one.